The landscape was riddled with craters and collapsed buildings, with dozens of Saiyans dead or gravely injured, while Bardock, barely able to remain standing, coordinated the survivors to move away from the battle that was about to begin. Granola's energy, far more powerful than any other on planet Vegeta, was an imposing and terrifying presence. Wasting no time, Goku advanced toward Granola, unleashing his power as a Super Saiyan 2, while Vegeta and the others protected the wounded. The fight would begin immediately, with Granola launching swift and precise attacks aimed at Goku's vital points, which he barely managed to dodge thanks to his experience and technical superiority. However, Granola's ability to analyze and anticipate every movement of his opponent gave him the advantage, forcing Goku to fight more defensively as he tried to understand the reasons behind Granola's fury and attacks. The battle would be intense, with each blow echoing like thunder and every energy blast lighting up the skies. Even as skilled and powerful as he was, Goku would begin to show signs of fatigue. Granola, driven by his desire for revenge, proved to be a relentless opponent, and despite Goku's efforts, he could not convince him to stop. Realizing he could not defeat him alone, Vegeta would join the fight, also transforming into Super Saiyan 2 and demonstrating that he too had reached that level of power after years of training with Kakarot. The coordination between Goku and Vegeta would begin to turn the tide of the battle. The two warriors combined their attacks with impressive precision, gradually overpowering Granola. However, even when cornered, Granola would refuse to surrender, preferring to die rather than end his crusade of vengeance against the Saiyans. At that critical moment, Bardock, severely injured, would slowly move toward where they were fighting, barely able to remain standing. Yet his determination was evident. As he approached, he would tell Goku and Vegeta to step back. Bardock would stand in front of Granola without raising his fist and begin to speak to him. He would explain that he remembered everything that happened on planet Cereal so many years ago, when the Saiyan invasion destroyed Granola's home. He would reveal that it was he who saved Granola, clearly recalling his mother Muesli and Monaito, who begged them to protect the Cerealian child. Granola, still full of rage, would attempt to attack, but Bardock's words would briefly stop him, and Bardock would continue explaining that not all Saiyans were monsters and that many of them had been Frieza's slaves, forced to obey orders under the threat of extermination. With each word, Granola would begin to doubt, finally remembering the events of his childhood and the face of the Saiyan who saved him. Bardock would admit that the Saiyans committed unforgivable atrocities, but would also point out that his son Goku had worked tirelessly to redeem the legacy of their race, and that thanks to him and his desire to bring them all back, they'd been given a second chance to redeem themselves and become better people, thus thriving as a better version of the Saiyan race. Granola, finally aware of how much blood he had spilled in his thirst for revenge, would begin to calm down, regretting all the atrocities he had committed to get to that point. Seeing an opportunity to heal the wounds of the past, Bardock would suggest a way to make amends for the horrors the Saiyans had inflicted upon planet Cereal. Looking at Goku, he would give him the signal for what they had to do. Goku, understanding immediately, would use his instant transmission to take Granola, Bardock, and the others to Earth. Gathering the Dragon Balls, Goku would summon Shenron with everyone present and wish for the revival of the entire Cerealian race that died during the Saiyan invasion. The sky would light up as the dragon granted the wish, bringing the Cerealians back to life. Of course, to see a change, they would need to be on planet Cereal. But Goku and the others would assure Granola it was done, that his race had been resurrected. Granola, deeply moved, would fall to his knees, unable to hold back his tears. He would apologize for his actions, recognizing that his vengeance had turned him into exactly what he hated most. Goku, smiling, would assure him that he now had the chance to start over. Finally, the Saiyan would take Granola back to planet Cereal via instant transmission. There, Granola would reunite with his people, including his mother Muesli, while Goku watched from a distance. With a farewell gesture, Goku would return to Earth, satisfied that he had helped heal an old wound for both the Saiyans and the Cerealians, thus ending the cycle of vengeance and leaving hope for redemption and reconciliation between both peoples. Following the events of reconciliation between the Saiyans and the Cerealians, life would go on as usual, both on Earth and on planet Vegeta. Another year would pass, and with the required time fulfilled, the Dragon Balls would once again be used to undo the damage caused by Granola's revenge. The fallen Saiyans from that massacre would be resurrected, and planet Vegeta would once again feel a renewed spark of hope seeing how the effects of their redemption continued to bear fruit. The Saiyan society, though still marked by its ancient warlike principles, was changing. Goku, Vegeta, Bardock, and other notable warriors led the efforts not only to train the Saiyans in strength and combat techniques, but also to promote a more peaceful and constructive attitude toward coexistence in interpersonal relationships. The strict laws that once governed Saiyan society would be reviewed, encouraging childbirth and the formation of families. This would not only help rebuild their population, but also give them a reason to look to the future rather than cling to the scars of the past. Gradually, a new generation of Saiyans would be born on planet Vegeta, with many embracing the renewed ideals of their society. At the same time, some Saiyans would decide to move to Earth after getting approval from Vegeta and the other warriors. There, these Saiyans would assimilate to Earthling life, working in various fields, forming new families, and in some cases, bringing into the world hybrid Saiyans, who would show extraordinary potential from a young age, just like Gohan, Trunks, and Goten, who obviously would already have been born by that point as well. The Saiyan society seemed to be thriving in an unexpected way, and both Goku and Vegeta felt satisfied with the changes. Vegeta in particular was deeply proud that his race had been given a second chance to prosper thanks to his own efforts and those of Kakarot. Bardock and Guinea, watching their hybrid grandchildren grow up on Earth, felt a peace they never imagined experiencing, never believing they might one day see their grandchildren thrive, as it was uncommon for a Saiyan to live so long previously due to constantly dying in battle. However, while everything seemed to be going well, one issue remained unresolved: Goku's relationship with his brother Raditz. Although he had been resurrected, Raditz still harbored deep resentment toward his younger brother, resentment that had not faded with time. Raditz still could not forgive Kakarot for having killed him years before, much less for having taken so long to decide to bring him back. Despite Bardock and Guinea's efforts to mediate between their sons, Raditz kept an emotional distance from his brother. For Goku, his tension was a thorn in his side, a constant reminder that he had not managed to repair the bond with his only biological daughter. One night, in the vast desert of planet Vegeta, under a sky full of stars, Goku decided to confront Raditz. With no one else around to interfere, Goku arrived at the place where Raditz usually trained alone. Raditz looked at him with disdain while Goku, wearing his usual calm smile, approached him. Goku quickly made his intention clear to finally resolve the tensions between them, but Raditz, however, responded coldly, letting himself be consumed by his wounded pride. To him, Kakarot was not only his younger brother, but also the one who had humiliated and killed him. Their conversation would not be enough to dispel the years of accumulated resentment, and Raditz, full of frustration, challenged Goku to a fight, convinced that only through battle could he express everything he felt. Knowing this was necessary, Goku accepted the challenge, and under the moonlight, both Saiyans prepared to face each other, not as enemies, but as brothers attempting to mend an emotional fracture that had gone years without healing. Or rather, from Raditz's perspective, Goku was largely at peace with himself. Under the starry desert sky, Goku and Raditz squared off. Raditz, with his pride and anger accumulated over the years, charged at his brother with all the strength he had gained since his resurrection. The difference in power was immense, but that did not stop Raditz, who released all his frustration in a relentless flurry of attacks, transforming into a Super Saiyan in his rage. Despite reaching that form, his power was erratic and unstable. Raditz lacked the necessary control to use his transformation effectively, the result of his isolation and refusal to train with the others. Goku, who had long since surpassed that level, remained on the defensive, blocking and dodging attacks without counterattacking. His stance was patient, almost serene, allowing Raditz to vent his fury. Raditz attacked with everything he had, unleashing powerful energy blasts that barely grazed Goku. As he fought, his rage drove him into an uncontrollable monologue filled with accusations and confessions. He talked about his time in hell, where he relived his mistakes over and over, feeling betrayed by his own brother, who killed him without hesitation, something that was, of course, not exactly true, but Raditz had convinced himself otherwise. He described how, upon being resurrected, he expected everything to be different, but instead he found a family that had moved on without him. Goku, without responding, listened attentively while blocking his attacks. Raditz's moves were desperate, reflecting a warrior more trapped in his mind than in the present. As he poured out his rage, his frustration reached a climax, and Goku prodded him with small movements, just enough for Raditz to keep talking. Raditz went on, saying how he had always been belittled for being one of the weakest Saiyans, even among the low-class warriors. He admitted he never understood why Bardock and Gine sent Goku to Earth, believing they had chosen him over Raditz. But in the midst of his anger and adrenaline, he became lost in his own words until finally, almost without realizing it, he spoke them out loud. "It was my fault. It was my fault. I was the one who caused my death. I was the one who chose to act that way. Neither you nor anyone else is to blame." Upon uttering those words, Raditz stopped dead in his tracks. His Super Saiyan transformation vanished as he dropped to his knees, physically and emotionally exhausted. The realization hit him like an avalanche. For the first time, he acknowledged that his own decisions had led him to his fate, and that his hatred toward Goku was merely a mask to hide his own guilt. Raditz lowered his head, unable to hold back his tears. He spoke in a defeated tone, admitting that he had always acted wrongly, and his entire life had been a string of mistakes, and that even now, after being resurrected, he remained a failure, doomed to carry the shame of his existence. At that moment, Goku approached him, extending his hand. Raditz looked up, surprised by the gesture. Goku, with a serene smile, told him that he was not doomed to remain as he was. He explained that many Saiyans had started out equal or worse than him, weak, stubborn, and full of bitterness. But through effort and determination, they had changed, surpassing their limits and becoming formidable warriors. Raditz listened as Goku spoke about how group training and mental support had allowed the resurrected Saiyans to reach levels of power Frieza could never have imagined. Goku assured him that if he abandoned his bitterness, stopped isolating himself, and trained alongside him and the others, he too could reach that level and go beyond. With tears in his eyes, Raditz took his brother's hand, letting him help him up. For the first time in years, Raditz set aside the weight of his pride and hatred, deciding to take Kakarot's advice. He promised to try to rebuild his relationship with his family and train with the other Saiyans, not only to become stronger, but to overcome the past and find a new purpose. The night ended with both brothers lying on the desert floor, gazing at the stars. Without words, both understood that this encounter not only marked the end of a one-sided enmity, but also the beginning of a new stage, one in which Raditz could finally walk beside his brother, not as an enemy, but as family and a rival. Following the reconciliation between Raditz and Goku, the older brother would finally begin to fully integrate with the others. Although it was initially difficult for him to set aside his pride and distant nature, little by little he would open up more to his family and the other Saiyans. Time would pass with Bardock and Gine, who would give him the support he needed to move forward, and he would strengthen his bond with Goku through intense joint training. Over time, Raditz would also begin training with Vegeta and the other warriors, learning to refine his Super Saiyan transformation and working to surpass his limits. Thanks to group training, Raditz would eventually achieve full control over his form, also obtaining the 4th stage of Super Saiyan and integrating into the group as just another warrior.